Hello everyone. This is Professor Ganesh Kakle, Swedish College of Engineering, Pandharpur. What the topic today we need to discuss that is C preprocessor and storage classes. In this video, we totally focus on what are the different preprocessor directive, what it gives us feature to the particular program. Now, let's look at the introduction. So as it mentioned, a preprocessor. So as its name implies, it is a tool who process a particular source program before passing it to the compiler. So C preprocessor is a tool to accept a program initially, process it, give the some result as an output and forward to the compiler for the compilation process. So while we writing the program, we are not too much worry, we are not that much caring about the preprocessor, and we write the program. But everything, every program, every C program is completely rely on the preprocessor. So preprocessor is that program, that tool to actually or who automatically call the compiler to process our source program. So while we are running a complete C program, we have to follow the following steps. So these are what the different steps for the execution of the C program. There's definitely number of tools included over here, but we write these are the major tools over there. So text editor, preprocessor, compiler, linker, these are what different tools to actually process our source program, and we need to see the output. So our handwritten source program is here. Handwritten, we are writing a program with the help of text editor, and when we save the program, we got the file, for example pr1.c, that is our source code. So here a preprocessor is one of the tools who actually process a particular C program before passing to the next tool, that is compiler. So that's why its name is as like preprocessor. The output of the C preprocessor is what? That is what expandable source code, which is always in the extension of pr1, that is the name of program .i. So .i is an extension. Such a program we need to pass to the compiler, and then compiler compile it, develops the object code, and pass to the linker. So linker link with the different object files, and it creates the executable file. And then another tool is over here, that is loader, who loads that exe file in the memory for the execution purpose. So apart from these are the various tools. So we need to much more focus on what the tool is written over here, that is what preprocessor, whose input as a C source code and whose output is expandable source code. Now let's see what that preprocessor gives feature to the particular program, particular user. So the same diagram is drawn over here. A C program which is given to the preprocessor before passing to the compiler. The preprocessor tool who process it, each and every command, each and every directives which are written in the program, and develops the modified a source program which is a pure, that does not contains any preprocessor directives, and given to the compiler for execution purpose. So whatever the command which is written while we writing the C program, that C preprocessor definitely or properly sorted out that commands. So there are different preprocessor commands we need to much more focus over here in this video lectures. So as I already told you that a preprocessor who works on the source code, and it creates the expandable source code. If the source code stored in the file pr.c, then output of the preprocessor is definitely what? pr.i. Then we need to pass that is to the compiler for the compilation purpose. And who call that C preprocessor, that is automatically, which is invoked automatically by the compiler before the compilation properly begins. Now in today's video lecture, we need to focus on the different preprocessor directive. That directive is nothing but what preprocessor some facility we are going to provide to the particular program. some features we are going to provide to the particular program, and with the help of these directives we can write easy program. Whatever the code size over there, it completely gets reduced by using preprocessor directives. Then that is what we call as macro expansion. Then file inclusion, we are going to add a new file into our program. Then instead of comments we are going to use different preprocessor directives over there. That is what conditional compilation. So like that way we need to learn. So the uh, preprocessor commands are also known as directives. A preprocessor provides certain features, and that feature is nothing but what? Preprocessor directive. So everyone must know that a preprocessor directive always start with hash sign. So I'll take one example over here. That is what hash include stdio.h. So hash include is one of the preprocessor directive or preprocessor commands. We are writing that preprocessor command for providing some features to our source program. Now while we writing this preprocessor directive, we always take care of the following thing. Like over here, this should be a correct and this is completely wrong. Why? Because of each preprocessor directive must be on its own line. So while we writing the number of preprocessor directive, we have to write each preprocessor directives in its own line. Plus is at the start of the program. Definitely there is not any problem when we writing the particular program. We can write that preprocessor directive anywhere in the program, but we always hands on that writing that preprocessor directive always at the start of the program. So what are these preprocessor directive? What are these preprocessor commands? Who gives actually some facility to the program to actually reduce the work of user? So these are the various preprocessor directives. So in this video lecture we need to much focus on the first preprocessor directive, that is macro expansion, then file inclusion, conditional compilation, line of control, and a number of others preprocessor directives. So here these are the preprocessor commands. So while we writing a particular C program, we must know these preprocessor directives. So the first preprocessor directive is a macro expansion. So as their name implies, macro and expansion. So macro expansion, when we writing the macro expansion as one of the preprocessor directives commands, we are going to use hash define. So hash define directive is known as macro expansion, and while we writing it, we are definitely using this hash define pi 3.1415. So hash define, when we write there in the program, we consider that it's a macro expansion. So we follow this general form over here: hash define, macro template, then macro expansion. Or that macro template is nothing but macro name, and here is the different character sequences. In this example, hash define, this is preprocessor directive, that is macro expansion, preprocessor directives, then pi is macro template, and the last one is what? 3.1415, that is what? Macro expansion. So what it gives us feature, let's see. We'll take example also. That one more example over here. Hash define upper 25. So upper is nothing but macro template, and 25 is nothing but macro expansion. So while we writing the program, while we executing that program, preprocessor do what? He finds the occurrences of upper in the whole program and replaces its expansion. So here this upper keyword, upper that is macro template, is replaced by the 25 throughout the program. So here's definitely 1 to 25 numbers that are going to print one by one. So like this way. I'll take one more example over here. The value of pi 3.1415. The value of pi may be vary over here in the decimal format. So we take it constant value of pi 3.1415. So we are going to place that while we are executing this program, the value of pi is replaced by 3.1415. So this value going to replace over here, and then calculation is done, and the area of circle that are going to print it out. So this is what we call as macro expansion. What are the macro templates used over there we can replace with a certain character of sequences. Now how it works, that's very important part. uh, Firstly, while we're writing that program, then when we need to compile a particular program, the compiler will call a particular preprocessor, and that preprocessor do what? Search all the macro definition which is present in the program, like upper, like pi. He search out that macro template, macro definition throughout the program. So after finding that macro definition throughout the program, it will replace each macro template with their macro expansion. So while we writing the macro template, what we are going to use a capital letter for macro template. It is not compulsory you're going to use a capital letter, but it is the best practice for highlighting purpose that macro template must be used in the capital letter. While we writing the macro templates or macro expansion, do not use a semicolon over there. Now we'll take one more example. We'll take the number of examples which are related with this. Replace operator, replace condition, replace statement. So hash define is what macro definition, where the this a and d, that is replaced with and, or is replaced with or. So instead of this we are going to use and, instead of this we are going to or again. Again this complete condition is replaced with the excellent. This complete statement is replaced with the alert, like this way. Take one more example over here, and or. So we are going to use this instead of and instead of or we are going to use definitely over here capital A and D or. This is what the beauty of macro definition. So it's completely reduce our code while we are going to use the macro definition throughout the program. Let's general example. Let's take the general example over here. In a banking sector, the rate of interest of particular bank may be vary. It may be vary throughout the month, or it may be vary in a per year. So while we making the programs which are related with the banking sector, and instead of using macro definition over here, and we are going to change that rate of interest manually. So it is definitely not possible, because of rate of interest may be anything, and which will be vary always. So per month we are going to change. We have to open the program and we change the rate of interest throughout the program. It's not possible. So instead of that, whenever we are going to use macro definition over there, we made only one changes over there. So hash define rate, that is 7.98. if the rate going to change 7.80, it going to change 8.0, only that much changes over there. So that is the beauty of macro expansion. So that macro expansion, a complete here in this example, what this complete condition is replaced by the statement, that is arrange. So that is condition over here. When we are going to use macro template, the condition, whenever the macro preprocessor processes it, it just replaces the macro template with their expansion. It does not perform any calculation. Also these examples over there, number of examples which are related with it, any complete statement, printf virus, that is one of the statements. So that statement is replaced. Found, we are going to use found macro template throughout the program instead of the particular statements. Also while we are writing the macros, we are going to use also nested of macro definition. So define the macro name can be used as a part of the definition of other macro. It is also possible while we are writing the macro definition. So here min 1, max 9. So that macro template we are going to use over here, and their computation, this condition is replaced by the middle. So like this way it is also possible. One macro template can be used into another macro template. So no text substitution occurs if the identifier is quoted in the string. Now that's very important part. While we are using the macros, we are going to pass a different arguments to the particular macro. So we call as generally macros with arguments, which is really like to the function. But function and macros with argument is completely different. That macro can accept the arguments, or it may be any number of arguments that can be accepted by the particular macros. So with the help of example, we people understand how the macro going to accepts the arguments. So macros can have the argument same as the function. Let's take example is excellent. If any student whose marks is above 75, we say that it's an excellent. So what we are going to do, this x, we are going to pass the marks over here, that is 78, we are going to pass the value of x, 78. So 78 is here, 78 is greater than 75, so this condition going to execute. So we are going to pass marks, we are going to pass the argument to the particular macro. So instead of this condition, what we are going to use is excellent, and by taking from user, we taking the value of x again. Is lower, if any alphabet which is lowercase or not, that is also checked over here. If we are going to receive the x from user, if it is greater than 97 and less than 122, we say that is a lower. So that we are going to use in the if condition also this. Very important task over here, while we are going to use macros with argument, space between macros and its argument is not allowed. So here the statement like this, is lower of x, is lower of this. So here this space is not allowed over here. So space between the macros is completely allowed, not allowed. Taking a simple example, finding the area of circle, we are going to accept the value of R1 6.25. So area of 6.25. So this area of x is here. So the value of R1 will be replaced over here, and here what the condition is going to write, 3.14 into 6.25 into 6.25, that is R1 into R1. So that x is replaced by R1, x is replaced by R1, x is replaced by R1. The value of R1 is definitely over here, so we are easily computing A. Again the similarly with the second. So this is a area x is a macro template, and this is what macro expansion who, this macro template who accepts the arguments. Let's take general example once again. So like this way, while we seen the preprocessor code, so we got these things over there. Let's take one more example over here. We're accepting any digit and throw into ch, and we are just passing that ch over here. So instead of is digit of ch, what we have got, so we got is digit ch. So here instead of yy, definitely what is going to replace, that is what ch. So definitely what, if the particular digit in between 48 to 57, so what we say that entered digit, a particular entered character is definitely what digit, otherwise it's an illegal input, like this way. Now one more important points over here. Let's take the beauty of this example. While we writing the macro, we always take care that the macro expansion must be enclosed in the brackets. So has defined square of n, here n into n. So that n into n must be in the parenthesis. If you have not written macro expansion in the parenthesis, what did happen? So square of 4, that square of 4 here, so square of 4, so 4 is here, so what did get replaced, 4 into 4, and while we performing the operation, 64 divided by 4 into 4, so macro definition does not performing any calculation, just replacement there. So 64 divided by 4 is a 16, 16 into 4, that is what, 64. So answer is 64, but we expected what the answer, that is 4. So what I need to tell over here, that macro expansion must be enclosed in the parenthesis. Now macros with arguments, we'll take example over here. Macros expansion should be enclosed within the parenthesis like this way, and if the number of macro expansions are there, so just need to write a slash over there. So here h line is a macro template, and who replace going to for this particular for loop condition. So macro expansion is there, so need to write here forward slash over there. Split the macros in the multiple line. Definitely what program is here, a difference between macros and function. Macros and function, just the replacement of the code. Function passing the argument, doing calculation, returning the result. Macros makes the program run faster. Function, there is a bulky nature, we need to call, need to return, then accepts the return value, everything we need to perform. But when we are going to use the function, programming size is really a smaller instead of macros. Macro programming size is going to be increased. While we are performing, while seeing the expandable code, definitely a program size is going to increase like this way. So here's the number of example for you people. You have to pause the particular screen and just identify the answer over here, true or false. Check it out whether anything is wrong over here, then like this way. Also check it out what is the output of the particular program. Here I need to use some macros over here. Here are some macros over here. Okay, enclosure in the parenthesis. These are various programs, so pause the particular screen and try to solve these programs. Also number of programs over here, find out the caret small or upper. Okay, like this way. Thank you very much for watching this video.